I've just seen. So we're going to be talking about ghosts. I've just seen it in the trivia section of the fandom website. Goof. Alison would not be wearing her nose piercing in the hospital. Who makes this shit? Anyway.
Oh, is that in the American one?
No, that's in the UK one. However, I realise I'm attacking someone for putting that, but it's the people who put these pages together that we have a lot to thank for, because they're very, very useful when we're doing these recordings. So.
Yeah. Please keep writing them. Just be more careful with your goofs.
I don't want to scare you, Rich, but there's ghosts everywhere, and it's not even Halloween anymore. We had that, didn't we? Do you remember? 2 months ago.
Oh God, do you remember the crazy murders?
Yeah, but that what? How do you know about them? Anyway,
it's because I watch.
How could you watch? It was you I fucking murdered.
Oh, I'm a ghost.
It's funny I'm not going to get into this, but there is a Peter Straub story called Ghost Story, which hangs on the thing of somebody mishearing somebody 3 times, and the things that they think that person said is, I saw a ghost, I am a ghost, you are a ghost. And it's all very interesting. But less of that. Let's talk about these ghosts.
Yeah. Which side of the pond should we start on? Because this is one of our...
UK versus US specials.
Yeah. They're not that special because there's a lot of them.
And the UK wins every single time. This is the closest we get to voting for Brexit. It's going, we're just fucking better than you. This is what the UK is better at the rest of the world, and by the rest of the world I mean the US at. TV shows and plugs. Our plugs are. I will go toe to toe with any plug against the UK plug, and I think we come up trumps every single time.
Yeah. The only thing is, sometimes I find that other countries' plugs don't tend to somehow end up on their back, pins up.
Ah, yeah, no, that's probably a phenomenon that's... Would you say that's probably not exclusive to us, but I think we would suffer the most with it. If you stood on the US plug, let me tell you, I'm bending that motherfucker. I don't need to worry about it. But...
Yeah, no, I've drawn blood standing on a UK plug.
I heard a story.
And I mean, I deserved it because...
You were trying to plug yourself into the
plug.
mains, weren't you? You were trying to suicide by electrocution.
I hadn't learned about baths and toasters yet.
There is I can't remember who it was. Somebody told me a story of somebody who jumped off of a bunk bed directly onto an upturned plug and effectively plugged the foot, plugged something into their foot, is effectively what they did by jumping from such a great height, which is a disgusting story, really.
Yeah. Trying to think of the worst thing I've fallen out of bed onto. It probably Lego, if I'm honest.
You fell out of your bed onto Lego?
Yeah, so I, not as an adult, this was when I was not a kid, but not an adult.
Right, I don't...
Teenager, that's the word.
I had no idea what you were talking about for a second.
So I would have been at home and I would have been building Lego on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then didn't put it away because why would I?
Because kids.
It's my room,
Yep.
my Lego. And then I fell out of bed onto Lego. And like Lego hurts when you can see it coming. When you're asleep, Lego hurts.
It's like that. But have you seen that thing where like people they throw a load of bricks out and then try and walk across a pathway full of Lego? I've not experienced this. I've always thought that probably would be more comfortable, and I don't mean comfortable, but less uncomfortable than standing on a singular brick, because your weight's kind of spread over multiple.
Yeah, it's the same thing as those like nail boards that people lie on.
Yeah, it's
like the only reason it doesn't hurt
isn't
is because it's distribution of weight.
Yeah. I wonder who the first person to try that. Anyway, we should get on.
I was just hoping there was a little brief pause so we'd be like, ghosts?
So yeah, ghosts that definitely don't exist. Let's... Where do you...
If these ghosts exist, I'd be alright with ghosts existing.
Maybe not Julian. Julian kind of weirds me out a bit, but I like...
he's the
Robin,
politics man.
Yeah, the politician who died
trousers.
with in the sex wank death thing. Death wank. What's it called? autoerotic asphyxiation, like that MP did that time. Is that true? Was there actually an MP who killed himself with autoerotic asphyxiation? I feel like it is, because I know what autoerotic asphyxiation means. Autoerotic, talk amongst yourselves. Asphyxiation. I spelled that right. Okay, here we go. And then I'm going to put
images.
Oh wow, there's an there's an article from the Independent called "When Masturbation Can Be Fatal." It's from the 13th of July 1993. That's when Julian's supposed to have died. Here we go. One evening last July, a young man in his late 20s was found dead in his sitting room. He had hanged himself. That is unfortunate. Oddly, his head and shoulders were suspended from a noose only about 3 feet from the floor, and his legs and torso were in a reclining position. Pornographic magazines were found open next to the body. You know what that is, don't you?
Murder.
That's us two. Because let me tell you, if I ever found your body, fucking right, I'm going to surround it with weird shit.
Yep.
Just My Little Ponies and jam.
I just fan all of your copies of Attack of the Clones around you.
Just use the cases to spell out "it was Joe." Yeah, we should decide which episode we're going to go for. Are we going US or UK first?
Ultimately, I don't think it matters because they're basically the same.
They are very, very similar, aren't they? Something that I think I noticed right from the off, though. I feel like the US one explains...
It's worse.
Yeah.
I understand.
They explicit... What's the word? Yeah, I think that is the right word. There's a lot more sort of exposition. Like, they explain, oh, so Thor can do the electric things because he got struck by lightning, and when you walk through, I can't remember which one it is, there's a weird smell. I feel like in the UK one, you're sort of shown that happens, and you're not directly, there's no character that tells you, this is your secret power, this is your special power. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Felt like it was telegraphed a lot more.
But I don't know if that's... I mean, it's quite common, I think, that American shows are a bit more...
explicit in their explanations.
Yeah, and I also know, like, a little bit short, and they just cut out some of the funnies from the UK one. Because they go in the American one, rather than having the, oh, we're looking for a house. We don't like this house. Don't like estate agents. They go straight into the, like, reading of the will. And it's just like, I understand that maybe that first scene doesn't add a huge amount, but it's still nice to get to meet the alive characters and see what their sort of situation is, because I think it then makes the arc of the episode a bit more like, I don't know, that they're clearly struggling to find somewhere nice to live, and then they get this dilapidated manor house and they're like, well, it's better than a bedsit.
Yeah, I do remember thinking that the pacing is a lot. Like you say, it's a lot choppier. It's a lot quicker in the American one. You're given a little bit more breathing time. But then I suppose actually thinking about it, the UK one is about 10 minutes longer though, isn't it? So the US one is literally 21 minutes. So
yeah, and I think that's got the like advert time baked in that the UK one doesn't have because it's BBC.
Yeah. Yeah, so you benefit from an extra 9 minutes of stuff. And that's actually quite a lot of time. Because, I mean...
it's about a third of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't mean that the US version had to be a third of the quality.
Do you really think it's what did you think of the difference in the ghosts then? Because I actually quite liked... I'll tell you what. So my favourite ghost in the UK one is Robin. Like, I've watched the whole of the UK version of Ghost, and Robin is absolutely my favourite character. But similarly, I found myself really liking Thor in the American one.
Yeah, I think is Robin's the caveman.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's because you don't expect him to be intelligent. I don't know why. That's maybe just something we've thought of cavemen because, you know, all they did was discover fire.
Don't steal the joke again.
We've built combustion engines. And I mean, Thor's just, a Viking who sailed across from wherever Vikings come from
For fuck's sake.
to the States.
We've done multiple shows set in like ancient Norseland, and we've watched a show that is
Norway,
literally called
I know.
Vikings.
Yeah. Well, and that's in the show Vikings, they go across the pond. I don't know why we call it a pond. It's too big for a pond.
I think that's the joke, isn't it? The fact that you're trivializing an ocean into a pond.
It's a very American thing. Americans focus a lot more on size because they're such a big country with such little history. That was, I think, my main thing going into this. I was like,
You're not going to get the depth of ghosts. Is that what you were thinking?
yeah, but then a lot of the ghosts in Ghosts, the UK, they're not as far back in. Well, I suppose actually
You got Robin,
quite far
who's
back in
like,
history,
he's the oldest one of all of them. Like, there's definitely, there's. Do you know what I was always surprised about actually with the UK one is the fact that they very rarely add in another ghost to the house. But if they just discovered that there was one that was like, was stuck in the attic or something like that, who for over the however many hundreds of, in Robin's case, thousands of years they've been there, they just never found. But then I guess it's quite difficult to write that in into like, well, why haven't they spotted? I remember seeing Matthew Bainton saying that they wanted to do a ghost who just like he died in the field, but then was like, or it was in a building that was since knocked down, but then for some reason he was only stuck in the field, but they could never make it work. And saying that out loud, I think I understand why, because probably wouldn't be all that interesting. But like, just spotting him outside every day.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was. I mean, obviously, I've only seen episode 1, and I've only ever seen episode 1. I watched episode 1 like last year at some point, thinking we were doing it for the podcast, and then we didn't. So I don't know if it gets to be in my top 5 because I've technically already watched it, but I've never watched past episode 1.
So would you say it's strong enough to go into your top 5? Because I
think
said,
so.
I watched this a long time ago, the pilot, and then it's only been this year that we've really got into it. But I've seen the Ghosts pilot a lot because we've watched like one episode and then not continued with it, and I really struggled to get into it following the pilot. But having continued with it, it's a really, really lovely little show. It's really, really good. Did you watch any of the I suppose we were probably like quite a bit too old for the Horrible Histories, but that's what this lot have also done. Have you seen any of those things?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but not all of it. Oh no, I'm thinking of Drunk Histories. I've seen a lot of that.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, I forgot that was a show.
Yeah,
Remind me.
just
what
get a
that-
comedian and get them drunk and just be like, explain a history thing to me, please.
Is that what it was? They were told about a period of history. They were then drunk, and then they had to relay what it was, and then they dramatised their version.
Yeah.
That's such a good idea for a show. Was it
Yeah.
Comedy Central?
I think that premise works for pretty much anything.
Drunk football. That'd be good. Make football interesting.
Or just take any show and just be like, right, here is the story. Go get fucking hammered and tell me that story. That, I mean, is actually just what history is, but you could just do it with short stories. Like Drunken Midnight Mass.
Well, I mean, they drink enough fucking red wine, so...
Is it red wine?
Do you know, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, might be time to re-watch Midnight Mass. I mean, it's been a couple of months now.
Yeah. I think with Ghosts, I think what I also really liked is that just the sheer terror that ghosts have when they're just like, the fuck do you mean you're going to turn it into a hotel? In like both, but then the American version does go off on this like, this is what the house will look like as a hotel. And I've been to hotels. I know what hotels look like. Didn't need to see that.
Did you really, really rail against the US one? Because the guy who is...
I mean, I watched them back to back, and I think it's quite... I should have watched them the other way around, I think. So I should have watched the US one first and then be like... But I think either way, like, the American version was always going to be... Yeah, it was always going to be a bit disappointing in comparison.
Yeah.
Because... I feel like we should explore some other countries remaking stuff, because America, like, Shameless was an outlier. Being Human was good, but not quite the same.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, not great at it.
I mean, I do wonder, have we ever actually had one where we've gone, do you know what? The US one was better.
I think the only one that was sort of debatable was The Office, but that was never like, it was once you get past, I think there's only 2 seasons of the UK Office, right?
Sorry, I had massive technical difficulty then. I just pulled out my earphones so I didn't hear anything what you said about
I was just saying the only one I think is debatable,
The
or
Office.
that people do debate, is The Office.
But
it's never, once they get past how many seasons there are in the UK.
Yeah.
I think it's only 2, isn't it?
Well, I think actually, like, the first series is pretty much a straight remake of, like, 1, but then incorporates bits of 2. So then if you were doing, like, a pilot versus pilot thing, it 100% is the UK is the better. But then, like, obviously, with the US one, you get to spend a lot more time with those characters. But this is the thing. It does occasionally... Well, not occasionally, but after a while, they kind of play fast and loose with, like, the documentary format of it. Like, some things happen. You're like, well, I mean, that couldn't have happened that way because the camera crew weren't there, or there's things that happen that you're like, well, you know, it doesn't... It's when it's convenient that they pick up the documentary thing, which I think, like, you know, I think that's fine. Like, it becomes a very, very different show at that point.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that's how they have to be done. They have to take the initial premise and just sort of run their own way with it.
That's something that I think, like, because it is quite similar, this one. Like, obviously I was watching this and I was thinking, do you know what, this could be a really, really interestingly syndicated show, because, well, I mean, probably for, like, the West, because I know, like, in places like Japan, that ghosts and spirits are thought of very, very differently to what, you know, how we would consider a haunting to be. But every country has got, you know, different periods that it could draw characters from. So this could be, like, in the same way that The Office was syndicated, because those things are universal. Like, everybody in every country who's worked in an office has met that guy or this person. It probably would translate fairly well to, you know, Spain, France, Italy, you know, all that sort of stuff. I think they probably could sell it to those countries, because you've got each character has got, each country has their own strong notion of history and you know, eras and things.
But instead, we got America.
Well, you know, I suppose you've got
the thing. Like, it's not bad. It's just back to back with the UK one just doesn't quite stack up.
Yeah, I did really like the Isaac character, he's basically the captain from the UK one. I did very much enjoy his performance. I thought he was really good.
I found him very Dad's Army.
Well,
but
the
like
captain, or Isaac?
Yeah.
Because the captain, we don't
yeah.
know his name. You never find out what his first name is.
But yeah, and I mean, it's also really nice to see just a bunch of people from Taskmaster just all in the same thing.
It is a bit of a who's who of Taskmaster contestants, isn't it? That's back next week, I think. Or is it this week?
It might be this week. Don't you mean,
I mean
several months ago in September?
Yeah, it came back.
Or October.
It came back on the... of I don't know when it starts again.
I don't know, but I just can't believe that Lucy Beaumont won.
Or Susan Wokoma, or Sue Perkins, or Sam Campbell, or Julian Clary. Delete that in the edit, and we'll be absolutely fine.
I'm not going to do that.
Oh, it starts in 2 days. Oh, so in 2 days we get fucking Sex Education, we get Taskmaster, and that John Wick show that we were talking about starts on the 22nd.
Fucking hell.
God.
It's getting a bit busy, isn't it?
And Gogglebox is back. Oh, what a time to be alive.
I'm trying to think, because I think one of the main differences between the two is that in the UK version,
Yeah.
it's a very intentionally Alison gets pushed out the window.
Oh, the death. Yeah.
And in the US version, they're sort of like, oh, he didn't mean to. He just knocked the vase on the floor and she slipped. And I don't know why, but I find that quite interesting. That not that Americans are too scared to kill each other, because the news. But it seems like a really odd thing to change.
Do you think people, like, if they'd done it straight, like, she gets pushed, do you think people would, like, the American audience would struggle to sympathise with that character if they've seen that, oh, well, he's quite happy to kill someone?
Yeah, but, like, they're openly talking about killing them in both.
Yeah.
And it's just, it seems weird, because it's like because Panther's politician in the UK version is like, I saw an opportunity and I pushed her. And I did really enjoy his, like, very political, like, we've asked you a yes or no question, he's like, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, he's absolutely channeling Boris in that, isn't he? Like, you've seen
Yeah.
the thing he does with his thumbs, like when he pushes his, I'm doing that thing, like he sort of, Boris did that thing, he holds up a fist, but he, like, extends his thumb into his finger, so what are we going to do? And he pushes it, like, to emphasise every point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Fucking irritating too.
Yeah, but it's just weird that I don't know, because it makes it a little bit different when Alison comes back and she's sort of like, oh fuck, there's ghosts. And I'm assuming at some point she finds out that they tried to kill her.
I actually don't think it's, if it is brought up, it's not like a big, oh, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah. But I also really enjoyed that they just changed the clock. And it changed to the time that Fanny jumps out of the window.
Yeah, that is a really good joke. She's actually a really interesting character. She became a lot, like, one of my favourites, and she started off as, I was like, she's kind of annoying, but actually I really warmed to her. It's a really good ensemble. Like, the lot of them, they're all brilliant. They're all really, really good and well drawn. So I was kind of intrigued to see, like, the American equivalents. Like, is it Crash, who's the headless guy, but he looks like some sort of mobster sort of guy?
Yeah, biker sort of guy.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Greaser, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I meant. Not like a mobster. I knew he was like that sort of. Yeah. Cause of death: beheaded. Status: deceased.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's just they are different, and I think you could probably enjoy either one of them. But I think you have to pick a team, and that team is Uck.
Yeah, it's the only time I'll sort of wave the British flag with anything positive to say. Yeah, it's another hands down win. Not that we're biased, but it's a hands down win for the UK.
Yeah, I think it's hard for the US to win remaking a show that we made first.
We, like me and you, sat there like, you can't do it as well as we fucking did it.
Yeah, no, this is our one moment of patriotism. Don't forget that.
Is this like when football or sports fans like they talk about their team as like, oh yeah, we and you? I was like, I don't remember you having a lot of involvement in Tottenham versus West Ham, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I make a very conceited effort to not do that when I talk about Formula One, despite being like a fairly die-hard Formula One fan.
Oh my god, but why is that weird? That would feel really, really weird. Like, if you're talking about Williams or McLaren or something, it's like, oh yeah, well we beat you. It's like, fuck off, no, that feels very strange.
Maybe at like the team level.
Maybe it's about the number of people actually.
If you're supporting a driver, and I think a lot of people support like a driver, not a team, which is fair. So it's very hard to be like, yeah, we beat your driver when it's like, yeah, the driver I support is just one guy in a car.
It's quite odd, isn't it? Have you heard that? There's that. I don't think it was in the TV show, but in that Mitchell and Webb Sound, which is like the radio show they did before the TV show, that they have this exact conversation, and then David Mitchell just goes, "Oh, do you remember when we were running through in the Middle East, and I ran away from that big boulder, and then I stole that aisle, and then your lot were chasing me for it?" And this guy's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a film I've liked, so I've just decided I was in it. So, we were all looking for the Ark of the Covenant, and then you lot opened it up, and all your faces melted."
Yeah, no, it is a thing that I think it feels more exclusive to like football than anywhere else,
or like just anything with the team sport, I suppose. Because rugby fans, I think, probably do the same, wouldn't they? Maybe cricket fans. I don't know. Do cricket fans refer to themselves as we when they're talking about like the county teams? I'll have to ask my mum. She's a massive cricket fan.
I don't know. I just assume that cricket fans are always pissed because they have to be.
To be fair, anything that takes all day to play a game. Saying this, I watched an episode of Rob and Ramesh.
Saying that, we have also played board game, like a board game for a whole day before.
Yeah. Oh, it's a shame that it went so badly because I'd love to play that game again, but I don't think we ever will. But yeah, I was watching Rob and Ramesh the other day. I was like, I quite fancy just taking a bat and a ball over the park or going to watch a game of cricket. I quite fancy it. So. We've gotten quite far away from talking about ghosts, and we.
I think what happened was we got into a bit of a thing about patriotism and team sports.
So here's some interesting piece of news for you. The next episode that we record is the last in this series of the traditional format of Copilot. Somehow we have come to the end of season 8 already. And we are going to be recording our final traditional episode where we pit 2 TV shows against each other. But then next week we will also be recording our top 5 pilots of the year. So next week you have this to look forward to. We are going to be doing His Dark Materials, which I genuinely am quite excited to watch, and Shadow and Bone, which I'm less excited to watch.
I have no idea what Shadow and Bone is.
I don't either, but it feels like
it's not going to be as good as His Dark Materials.
It feels like that sort of YA that's kind of just a load of bollocks. What's that other one we did? That really shit one. We did a couple
Shannara
of years
Chronicles?
ago. That's the one. Jesus Christ. Actually, let's do this as a little sort of bonus feature of this episode. I need to ask you a series of questions because you have read all of the Wheel of Time books, correct?
Correct.
One of our shared favourite comedians and, opinion barometer, I think it's fair to say, Daniel Sloss, he was on Instagram the other day on his stories and he was talking about Wheel of Time and he was bemoaning the new series and particularly called out the showrunner saying like, you have taken the greatest fantasy story of all time and turned it into a pantomime. And he ripped the absolute piss out of this guy who he kept saying like the only thing that I can see he's done other than this TV wise is he was on like a series of Survivor. So how is this guy running this show? You've watched the first series of The Wheel of Time, is that right?
And all the episodes that are out
and
to this point.
what are your thoughts? Do you share the same opinions of Daniel Sloss? Is it the pantomime?
It's not the same as the book. It's its own thing. I'm enjoying it,
Right.
and I'm quite happy to let it be its own thing.
Okay.
But the books are better.
Yeah. That was a very short discourse, but it was to the point, so I appreciate that. It took me longer to ask that question than it took you to fucking answer it.
It did. It did. Also, I hadn't actually considered that Daniel Sloss is very much our opinion barometer at the moment.
Well, not at the moment, just forever. Like, he just always has been, you know. He taught me to...
Unknowingly. Yeah.
He taught me to figure out that to enjoy the person who I am above any sort of relationship. However, my relationship
I
very,
wouldn't
very well.
advise that. I've met you.
He also taught us that I look like a caveman, not the one who discovered fire, the one who discovered it was hot. And he also taught us not to fucking rape, as if we needed to be fucking taught that.
It isn't something you should be taught.
No.
And that's the thing. I don't think for the longest time that you knew that I'd stolen that joke
No.
from Sloss.
I did. I was very impressed with it. I remember laughing at that a lot at the time. And then he was like,
That's because it was written by a proper comedian.
someone who's actually funny.
Yeah. I wrote a lot of the other stuff around it. Like, I didn't steal the whole thing from Sloss because otherwise Sloss knows who you are.
That would have been quite funny if you just had the balls to get right. Well, here we are for 90 minutes. This is Jigsaw.
Can you imagine, like, having someone perform Jigsaw at your wedding?
And then that's the thing that makes you go, yeah, I ain't feeling this. That bit of paper we just signed, should we get rid of that?
Imagine the guests being there just like, I thought this was meant to be like a lovely speech about how good a couple they are. Instead, you're just ranting about how no one will ever love you.
But that's also fine as long as you get on with yourself. It's very, very strange to take on a wedding day. But you could do a lot worse than listening to a lot of what Daniel Sloss is saying. Particularly, roughly, around, mid to late September, given what's going on in the news about then. What was going on in the news about then.
That got very complicated.
Oh, well. Don't rate people.
It's always very difficult for us when we're recording a bit in the future. I say a bit. I mean, the next episode to come out after recording this is going to be The Missing and the Drowning. But we recorded that months ago.
I wonder,
so fuck knows what those shows are.
I wonder what I'm going to think of The Missing and the Drowning. And even more so, I wish I could fucking remember either one of those shows.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what is fifth in your top 5, because they're on the spreadsheet and you've only got 4 and there's only 2 shows left.
Yep. I might do it. No, I have got 5. It's just I've got 5. It's just that you've got 9.
I don't do well with rules.